Welcome to How to Become a Production SQL Database Administrator. My name is Raphael. In the next series of videos, we're going to be talking about now another HA solution called Replication. We've covered HA solution log shipping and database mirroring, and now we move on to the third one, which is called Replication. But before we begin into Replication, let me go to my PowerPoint and give you a couple of examples here. Here you'll see that we got publisher metaphor for SQL replication. When you're talking about SQL replication, we use a metaphor, which means we're using a comparison to the publishing industry language. Here you'll see the metaphor for publisher. You'll obviously a publisher in the publishing world is a company or an individual that produces either magazines or articles or newspapers and so on. So we use the terminology of publisher to describe replication. So let's continue. So we know what a publisher is. So when we're talking about the publisher, we're talking about that individual or the company, for example, that's producing Time magazine. When we're talking about the term publication, we're actually talking about the magazine itself containing many different articles. And then when we're talking about articles, obviously these are individual articles or pictures and so on. Obviously, we're talking about the distributor. When we're talking about the distributor in the publishing world, we're talking about things like trucks or the individuals that takes that magazine from the publisher and distributes it to various vendors. Then we're talking about a term called subscriber, and obviously the subscriber is the end user, and that is the reader of the Time magazine. And then we also call agents. Now, these agents in the publishing world are people who contribute to the entire process of publication. Now, these agents could be the authors, the journalists, the spell checkers, and so on. So this entire process, and these are the couple of terms we use in a metaphorical sense when we describe replication. So now we know what terms to use. Let's apply them to SQL environment replication world. So I'm going to click on here, and suddenly we have replication. So in the replication world, when we're talking about the publisher, we're talking about actually the source server with all the databases that we need to publish. When we're talking about the publication in replication, we're talking about the SQL and databases and the tables that are involved in that publication. And obviously now the articles are analogous to tables. When we're talking about articles, we're talking about the tables that make up the publication. When we're talking about the distributor, we're talking about either the publisher or another server that distributes this publication to subscribers. So its responsibility is to take that publication and distribute it to either one or many subscribers. Obviously, subscriber, if it's the end reader, it's the server that receives the publication from the distributor. And obviously, these can be many readers or servers that receive this information. Now, agents, obviously, in the SQL replication term means these are replication agents such as the log reader or the distribution reader or the snapshot agent that contribute. This is this entire process for publishing a magazine from the publisher right to the subscriber. So these agents are involved. And we'll be talking about those individually as we move along. So now you know, metaphorically speaking, when we're talking about SQL replication, we use this metaphor for the publisher. So now let's go back here and let's look at what replication is. So what is a replication? As I mentioned, replication is the third form of HA solutions, high availability solutions, which allow us to disseminate data from the source to the destination. So replication is a set of technologies for copying and distributing data from database objects from one database to another, and then synchronizing them between the database to maintain consistency. Now, using data replication, you can distribute data, again, to different locations, just like you can with log shipping and database mirroring. But this is an important thing to kind of note. Unlike other methods of HA solutions, it doesn't distribute the entire database. You'll notice that when we did log shipping and database mirroring, it distributed the entire contents of the database from the source to the destination. The advantage, if you will, of the replication is that we can be selective into selecting which tables to disseminate from the source to the destination, or views or store procedures. So this isn't the entire databases that is being copied and distributed to another server. It's just specific articles or tables that we select. So this is one of the advantages here. Now, so there are 4 types of replication. They are replication, transactional replication, peer-to-peer replication, snapshot replication, and merge. And the ones I'm going to give you a demonstration of are the first 2, transactional replication and peer-to-peer replication. And by the time I've finished those 2 demonstrations, you'll have a clear understanding of what snapshot replication is and merge replication. So let's continue. So let's look at the first one, which is this transactional replication. And after we go over through the academics in the next video, we'll actually start executing what is a transactional replication, and I'll be demonstrating to you. So a transactional replication, it replicates each transaction for the article being published. And when a transaction is written to the transaction log from the source, the transactional log reader agent, remember these are the agents that are involved in replication, reads it from the transactional log and writes it to the distribution database and then to the subscriber. So the log reader obviously reads the data from the publication here and sends it here to the subscriber. So these will become clearer, the responsibility of these specific agents as we talk about them individually. Only committed transactional are replicated to ensure consistency. So uncommitted are not. So either it's an all or nothing. So if a transaction dies, for example, then it will not be propagated to the subscriber. And this way we keep consistency. Transactional replication is widely applied where high latency is not allowed, and such as OLTP systems. OLTP systems are the ones we've been demonstrating through this entire course and through the entire series of courses. That is unlike transactional processing. And basically what that means is that as soon as something happens on a source, it happens on the destination in a nutshell. And obviously the example is a bank that uses this, or stock trading. We want transactional replication to be applied when these systems are using it rather than, for example, snapshot. And the reason is because transactional replication, as we said, writes only the committed transaction to ensure consistency. So imagine you're in a bank at a bank teller and you're depositing a few $100s. As soon as that bank teller takes the money and says, okay, and it's processed, you want that transaction to be completed immediately to all your banks, updated all your banks throughout the country, throughout the world. You don't want just that one bank to be updated and not the others. So you want transactional consistency throughout the entire system, so you'll have an updated bank account, and that's what transactional replication does. As I said, there are a couple of log readers that allow us to manage this entire process, and one of them obviously is the log reader agent. The log reader agent is used for transactional replication. It moves the transaction marked for replication from the transactional log to on the publisher to the distribution. So obviously this log reader is reading the transaction log on a consistent basis, and if it's marked for replication, there's a flag that says, hey, this is replicated data, then obviously it'll move it to the distribution database, and then from there the distribution agent pushes it to the subscriber. Note, each database published using transactional replication has its own log reader. So it's not just one, but anytime you have a published database, it will have its own log reader. There is a such thing as what's called a push or a pull of data, and a push subscription pushes data from the publisher to the subscriber. A pull subscription request changes from the publisher. So this allows the subscriber to pull data as needed. And this is kind of useful, as it says, in disconnected machines such as notebooks. For example, if you're not connected to the your environment in the network, and then you do a pull subscription, if that's what's set, then when you connect back to the system or your network, it'll start pulling all the relevant data. And we'll be talking about that later. There's a distribution agent, which runs on the snapshot. So the distribution is used with snapshot replication and transactional replication. So we'll be talking about snapshot later, but it is used for that. It applies the initial snapshot to the subscriber and moves the transactions held in the distribution to the subscriber. So this is showing you just the role the distribution agent does. A snapshot, just to mention that, what a snapshot replication does basically is this. If you have set up replication For example, just to be snapshot replication, if we set that up as one of the processes of replication, then what that will do is it'll, just like the name kind of suggests, it takes a snapshot or a picture of the actual data that you've set for replication, and it sends the entire snapshot to the destination. And that's it. That's all it does. So at that synced point, it's at that point you've got identical data. However, since it's a snapshot of the original to the destination, if the original database is being updated and inserts, then until it runs another snapshot, you will not have synchronization. So that's why this is probably used for other factors rather than transactional replication, which is more important. We would not be using snapshot replication for a bank, for example, but I'll be demonstrating that to you when we talk about snapshot replication. So I think that's it. So let me just repeat this and give you a quick summary of what replication is. We said that we use a metaphor for when you're talking about replication, we use a metaphor for publishers, and these are the terms: the publisher, the publication, the distributor, the subscriber, and the various agents. All these contribute to migrating data from the source, from the publisher, to the destination, which is the subscriber. Now, when we talk about the architecture of this can become, if you will, complicated, but I'm going to make it relatively simple so you understand the complex. And my point being complicated, you can have many publishers, you can have many distributors, you can have many subscribers, but we're not going to get into that complexity here. I'm just going to be doing basically one-to-one ratio at this point. And as we talk about transactional replication, you'll get the understanding of how this works, and then the complexity we can work with later. So this is what a SQL replication does, and on the next one, we're going to be talking about, or I'm going to be demonstrating to you actually how to set up transactional replication. So again, transactional replication is the process of migrating data from the source to the destination by using specific tables, views, or stored procedures. And then we're making sure that each transaction is recorded in real time from the source to the destination. And this log reader agent and the distributor agent are responsible for making sure that whatever happens to the publisher and is published down to the subscriber is done virtually instantaneously. And we'll be demonstrating that in the next video. So I'm going to leave it here, and we'll continue with the next one with transactional replication. So my name is Raphael, and this is how to become a production SQL database administrator. See you in the next video.